Hi, Wired with Walsh. So, we're going to talk about something called love bombing in cults, or some new religious movements, or some high demand groups. Now, in my social psychology class, I do teach about so-called cults, and I don't really like that word cults because it is pejorative. It does put people down. Some of whom are in very, good groups that do a lot of good, that don't harm people and that don't manipulate people. But it's easy to see a group of newbies or new people or a new ideology and say, oh, these guys are bad. Now, that was everyone throughout history, right? You know, the Jews were considered bad in Babylon. They were the slaves. They were, the Samaritans, that's another religion, were kind of like considered the outcast in the Jewish community. Christians were considered outcast. Muslims initially were considered outcast. Buddhists certainly, Jains, different groups of Hindus. So it's not uncommon for one religion or one group to kind of put down another. And psychology, it almost gets comic sometimes. You don't see it that much anymore, but you've had those famous debates between psychotherapists. So you have the cognitive behavioral therapists versus the psychoanalysts versus the family systems people and the humanists. And they all kind of act like their own little religious cults. But they're not. So the idea of blaming others for different beliefs is a particularly human trait. However, there are certain groups out there, and they're not always religious, that engage in destructive behaviors or manipulative behaviors or control their members for, according to Margaret Singer, a hidden or occult agenda. Occult. The word occult refers to anything that's hidden. And occult can refer to even things like astrology, alchemy, tarot cards, magic. Those things are considered to be occult because they're usually hidden. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a hidden agenda. So let's say that Professor Walsh was here and I wanted you to watch my YouTube videos so that I could indoctrinate you into a special secret program I have, level 3. By the way, if you watch 100 videos, something's going to change in the energy, and you'll get to level 3. No, I'm joking. But if I were going to indoctrinate you to like join a special program of mine that was secret or get you to a certain group that was not related to these psychology videos, so just teaching undergraduate psychology, and I had an ulterior agenda that I use these videos to recruit people, that would be a hidden or occult agenda. So often with some high demand groups, there is a hidden agenda that is hidden from new members and even from a lot of initiated members or even from a lot of members that have been in long term. And as people work their way up and up and up steps, or they're in the group longer, they may figure out what's really going on or what the group's really about. And at a certain point, what happens is the knowledge that's taught at a certain level is reversed, and you're taught all of that is not true. Now you have to start all over from square one again. Okay. It's very manipulative. Now, let me just discuss this. How do these groups get people to join and stay? If they were going to say, hey, take a yoga class and we're going to be hard on you and we're going to hold this secret knowledge over your head, nobody would join. So what often happens is when some people first join these groups or attend meetings or attend seminars or attend world peace conferences that are run by these groups, what will happen is they will get love bombed. Hey, how are you? It is so nice to see. It is so, welcome home. Welcome. It looks like that. Okay. I was in one of these groups just observing, and I answered a very simple question once out of one of these very simple pamphlets. It was like probably a second grade reading level exercise, and the question any third, fourth, fifth, or sixth grader could, or second grader for that matter, could have read. And I raised my hand and I answered the question because I was encouraged to, and the line of people that came up to me, and I was in college at that point, so, and I hope that I appear to be at least somewhat intelligent, but the line of people that came up to me, it was like I had just, discovered the cure for cancer. It was ridiculous. Congratulations, that is so awesome that you got this. Wow. I mean, I've been doing this for years and I was so afraid to raise my hand for a question. Again, second graders are encouraged to raise their hand and have critical thinking skills. In second grade, that would have been appropriate if that were me and I were struggling with a problem. A teacher may get enthusiastic and encourage a student, but these were grown adults encouraging another, adolescent at that point, an educated adolescent, for something very, very simple, something that my parents or my grandparents would say, oh, that was nice, okay, you got it, good. I thought you were smarter than that, or, I think that's a little bit basic. So the expectations are very low. People in the group often know this, but there's a cognitive dissonance. There is a sense that, there's a justification of that kind of behavior. So what happens in these groups is when you first attend, you might get love bombed. Hey, how are you? Let me get your number. Come out for dinner with me. We have a group of men that want to just hang out and have a lot of fun together. Now, some people are genuinely enthusiastic like that. However, if you see too much of this and you're being invited in too quickly, especially if you're being asked to give information about yourself, but other people are not giving information up about themselves, run the other way, because generally speaking, or call it out, because I've done that too. You will be in one of these high demand groups. And I've had experiences where I wasn't sure if the group was high demand or not. And I just called it out. I said, I feel like I'm being manipulated. In fact, one group I was observing, I got to talk to the actual leader, who is a pretty big guy. He's in charge of well over 1 million people's believers. And I said, I don't like this. I feel like I like the teachings a little bit, but I feel it's manipulating. He goes, good, thanks for sharing that with me. And it very, very honestly, openly addressed it, didn't humiliate me. And I said, if I were a member, I wouldn't want to continue. He said, you don't have to continue. You see, there was no advantage for him to tell me that, but it was just very straightforward. And other people came up to me and said, yeah, continue if you want. If you don't want, just, quit. I quit many times. I didn't like it. I came back to it. If a group is like that, that is not a bad manipulative group. Okay? If you can go up to the leader and say, hey, I think you're a cult leader, and they go, okay, great, okay, I am a cult leader, fine. Or, I can understand where you're coming from. That's respect. And I respect that particular group and those people. But there are other groups where if you question anything, it becomes like you can very quickly get a sense that you are being excluded, and that love bombing ends very abruptly. It's very dysfunctional. So if you ever see this, just remove yourself, run the other way, and most importantly, call a friend who's not in the group, because they will reorient you to reality. You could say, hey, something is wrong here. And that friend will go, all right, yeah, it sounds like this is not a good group. You don't want to hang out with them. So you always want to ground yourself, reorient yourself to reality. Nothing wrong with saying, hey, I feel sick, I gotta go. Because you don't want to waste an afternoon or a day to these people. I mean, they're just time and energy wasters. Just walk out and, have a good day. Go to the park, have a cup of coffee, have a drink, read a book, watch a movie, have a date. Do anything besides hanging out with these cults or these high demand groups. We'll talk more about this in future videos.